The police officer's voice sliced through my Saturday morning like a siren in a dream. "Sir, step back from the garage. We have reason to believe this property contains stolen goods." I froze, kneeling by my rose bushes, garden trowel in hand, mud caking my gloves. 2 patrol cars blocked my driveway, their lights flashing silently, and an officer approached, hand near his holster, eyes scanning me like I was a suspect in a heist movie. Behind him, arms crossed and smirking through oversized sunglasses, stood Margaret, the HOA president who'd turned petty disputes into performance art. Her vendetta against my cluttered garage, once the target of her wrath over a slightly crooked trash bin, had clearly escalated to a new level of insanity. I looked from the cops to her and said, "Stolen what?" What should have been a quiet morning in my Maplewood suburban haven had spiraled into a crime scene in minutes. Margaret, who'd fined me for everything from unshoveled snow to unapproved mailbox colors, had apparently decided today was her day to bury me. The officers said they'd received an anonymous tip that my garage was a hub for criminal activity. No prizes for guessing who'd called. I stifled a laugh, tempted to offer them coffee while they searched for contraband among my Halloween decorations and lawnmower parts. Instead, I said they could look if they had a warrant or believed there was imminent danger. One officer nodded, studying me like I might bolt. I sighed, led them to the garage, and fumbled for my keys, ignoring Margaret's gleeful whispers to her HOA sidekick, who clutched a clipboard like this was a reality show audition. The door creaked open, revealing my organized chaos, a workbench littered with half-finished projects, boxes of camping gear, old cables, and a broken ceiling fan blade dangling above a wagon full of soccer balls. A typical garage, not a black market warehouse. Then the air shifted. An officer stepped deeper, paused, and crouched near the back wall. "Sir, what's in these crates?" he asked, pointing to boxes under a tarp I hadn't touched in months. I'd assumed they were leftovers from helping a friend move. I shrugged and approached. Unlike my labeled boxes, these had no markings except a barcode sticker and a half-torn address label. The officer peeled it back and whistled. "This name's not yours, and neither is the address," he said, showing me the label. My heart skipped. The name Elaine T. Walker belonged to a neighbor 2 houses down. The officer scanned the barcode, radioed it in, and got a ping. The item was reported stolen 3 weeks ago. Margaret's theatrical gasp echoed. "I knew something shady was going on," she crowed, already filming with her phone, ready to crown herself neighborhood hero. But the officer's gaze shifted to her, sharp and unamused. "Ma'am, come here," he said. Margaret's heels clicked as she approached, confused. He asked her to read the label aloud. "Elaine T. Walker," she said, frowning. "Wait, that's not..." She stopped. The officer raised an eyebrow. "The return address is yours." Silence hit like a guillotine. Margaret paled. Her sidekick's clipboard hit the pavement. For 5 seconds, no one moved. Then Margaret stammered, "That's impossible. A mistake." But the officer peeled another label. Same name, same return address. Margaret's. The crates held stolen electronics, headphones, smartwatches, kitchen gadgets, the kind vanishing from Maplewood porches weekly. My garage had become an evidence locker, and I hadn't even noticed. My mind raced back. I'd come home some nights and sensed things were off, boxes shifted, tools misplaced. I'd blamed forgetfulness, but the side door lock, replaced after I lost the key, was handled by the HOA's maintenance program. Guess who controlled that? Margaret's voice trembled. "I've never seen these. Someone's framing me." The officer was unmoved. "You're not under arrest yet. Stay here." Neighbors gathered, phones out, filming like it was a blockbuster premiere. Mrs. Rivera next door whispered, "Told you she was trouble," measuring lawns with a ruler. I leaned against the fence, stunned. "You wanted to clean my garage, Margaret," I said quietly. "Looks like it's cleaning you instead." Her jaw tightened, but she said nothing. Then her son, Caleb, screeched into the driveway in his dented sedan, leapt out and yelled, "Mom, "You weren't supposed to leave those boxes here again." The crowd gasped. The officers exchanged glances, and Margaret's HOA empire began to crumble like a sandcastle at high tide. The investigation shifted gears. Officers opened crates, photographing and logging items like a crime scene unit. Smartphones, tablets, even a baby monitor, each matching a neighbor's missing package report, many dismissed by the HOA as delivery errors. Margaret stood rigid, her fake smile melting into panic as Caleb fidgeted, realizing his outburst had redirected the spotlight. A detective in a blue suit pulled me aside. I explained I rarely used the back of the garage and mentioned the HOA's lock replacement. His eyes narrowed when I said Margaret oversaw maintenance. "Was it an HOA vendor or a contractor she picked?" he asked. "I didn't know, but I suspected she had keys." The detective questioned Margaret about her tip. She claimed she'd seen suspicious activity in my garage, but her story unraveled when neighbors mentioned her access to their garages via HOA emergency codes she'd strong-armed years ago. Those codes, buried in vague forms, let her enter private spaces unchecked. And officers scanned more labels, some taped over, others listing Margaret's HOA email as the return contact. "Why is your email on stolen goods from 3 states?" the detective asked. Margaret mumbled about reused boxes, but her voice cracked. Caleb tried to slip away, but an officer stopped him, asking about his comment. Under pressure, he spilled. Margaret had him move crates to my garage after HOA events, calling it temporary storage for unused spaces. "She said no one would notice," he muttered. The detective's pen paused. Neighbors filmed, their whispers now a roar. The HOA treasurer, pale and shaken, handed over emails showing Margaret had pushed to disable garage cameras and requested override codes without notice. Another officer found an RFID reader taped under a tarp used to spoof garage openers. Caleb blurted, "She got that on Amazon for emergencies." The officer asked why it was hidden with stolen goods. He went silent. By dusk, a search warrant was issued for Margaret's home. Officers escorted her there as neighbors parted like the Red Sea. Some clapped mockingly. Margaret's posture was stiff, her sunglasses hiding eyes that burned with fury. This wasn't a squabble anymore, it was a reckoning. The next morning, unmarked cars and plainclothes officers swarmed Margaret's pristine house, once Maplewood's golden standard. A warrant was read, and they moved in with surgical precision. 15 minutes later, they emerged with bins of stolen goods, binders, a laptop, and a USB stick. One officer held a fake police badge engraved with Margaret's name, explaining her undercover HOA enforcement threats. 3 bins labeled electronics, returns. Fix later held dozens of pilfered packages, some with gift notes for birthdays or new babies. Margaret's garage was a redistribution hub, her lost package oversight a front to intercept and delete complaints. Officers found a spreadsheet, package flowchart, tracking delivery schedules, and stash sites, including my garage. Another RFID scanner, etched with MH, sat beside bookmarked forums on hacking smart locks. Her HO email linked to a reselling ring, with photos of staged goods, some showing my shovel in the background. Margaret had built a criminal empire under the guise of community service. She stepped outside, cuffed and disheveled, her robe clutched tight. The crowd watched in stunned silence as she was led to a cruiser, Caleb trailing, cooperative but shaken. He'd thought he was helping with misdelivered packages, not enabling a felony. An emergency HOA meeting was called. The treasurer apologized, admitting they'd ignored Margaret's overreach. He handed me her access log, showing 7 late-night entries to my garage. "We failed you," he said. I nodded, too overwhelmed to speak. News vans arrived, and the story exploded. HOA leader caught in porch piracy ring. Online, garage justice trended with memes of Margaret's cuffed walk and a petition to ban her from HOAs. The FBI took over, tracing her sales to a shell company. She'd flipped goods for 3 years, using fake LLCs and encrypted apps. A leaked HOA recording sealed her fate. Margaret bragged about keeping neighbors in check and laughed about missing packages. Sympathy vanished. I testified at her trial, recounting the police raid and her unraveling lies. Margaret sat shrunken, her arrogance gone. The jury convicted her on all counts: mail fraud, wire fraud, impersonation, burglary in 2 hours. The judge called her predatory, sentencing her to 18 years, no bail. Her house was seized, her legacy erased. Neighbors cheered, but debates raged. Was she a mastermind or a desperate tyrant? Maplewood changed. A block party replaced HOA fines, and a tool co-op rose from Margaret's ashes. Caleb donated tools, seeking redemption. A mural on the community fence showed an open garage, neighbors united, and a shadowy Margaret locked out. My garage, once her hiding spot, became a symbol of resilience. I didn't ask for this fight, but sometimes opening a door exposes the truth and rebuilds what's broken. Today, Maplewood thrives as a community of trust, free from Margaret's tyranny. My rose bushes bloom, my garage is just a garage, and our story stands as proof. Even the pettiest vendetta can unravel a criminal empire when justice opens the right door.